Let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
What's up, listeners?
Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Ali did.
Mohammed?
The greatest of all time. Says, I was going over some of the game announcements from past E3s and stumbled upon a bunch of games that looked very promising at the time, but for one reason or another, never saw the light of day. For example, 8 Days, War Devil, StarCraft Ghost, etc. Which brings me to my question, what, in your opinions, are the most disappointing game cancellations? For me, it would have to be Star Wars 1313 and 8 Days. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Star Wars 1313 would probably be a lot of people's pick, because that game looked awesome. And we were actually one of the first sites to break the news on that game.
This game looked badass. I mean, I'm still secretly holding out hope that it does end up coming back in some form.
This was going to be a mature Star Wars game. You played as a bounty hunter. It takes place on Coruscant?
Yeah.
On that planet?
Well, they're trying to discover why there was a window inside of their window.
It took place beneath Coruscant.
Like the level 1330. That's how many levels beneath the surface.
It was like, the Fifth Element, where there was like the cool city on top, but all like the dirty grunge at the bottom.
And Final Fantasy VII. That's actually, it's interesting that a lot of things.
I think at one point they did say that Boba Fett was going to be the main
That's why I couldn't remember if that was a rumor or.
I remember something about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not who it is in this footage, but I remember hearing
It looked
that too.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was that Star Wars Uncharted game. That
These droids are so cool. But then when Disney acquired Lucasfilm and LucasArts, they just shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down. Everybody got let go. The whole
Shut it all down.
Yeah, so it's a bummer. I would love to see this come back in some form. I'm such a big fan of like third-person action games like this.
Sure.
And it's for all the all we talk about Star Wars and how great it is. We don't really get great Star Wars games that often. So this looked like it could be one of them. There was good people behind it, and then it just vanished.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
That
Because
was
this is
really
like,
awesome.
sometimes you see a screenshot or a logo or something like BioShock Vita, and you're like, oh, that'll never happen. But this is a video game that somebody's playing, right? This is a whole thing. This has textures and lighting and sound and everything.
There's a lot of work.
There's a lot of stuff going on
slice right here.
A lot of went into this.
Yeah, a lot of people worked on this
Yeah.
for a long time, and it just stopped.
Yeah, BioShock Vita.
Coruscant is the city planet, or it's
Yeah.
all covered by the city. Another thing I learned in the making of Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, really?
George Lucas was talking about Coruscant for Empire. He was planning it back then. It didn't make it in the movie, obviously, but it didn't end up showing up until episode 2.
It was in.
It was in the prequels.
Yeah, the second prequel, which
They
technically-
photoshopped it into the end of Jedi after they did the
really?
HD.
Oh, yeah, they did do that.
During the Ewok scene, when they ditched the Yub Yub song, they played this
$30,000.
orchestral thing, and they show this shot of Coruscant where everyone's like, yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Are the original cuts even available on Blu-ray without the? Oh, it's so sad.
They are available online.
Yeah.
So basically, they're rips of the Laserdisc versions, which
Okay.
is the best way to watch those films. It's the only way I'll ever watch them at home.
Yeah, probably.
It's funny that Ali brought up 8 Days, because that was one of my picks.
That one I had totally forgotten about. Do you guys remember this game, 8 Days?
Yeah.
This was shown at Sony's press conference at E3 2005.
And this looked, what's funny is we watched...
What's on the screen there?
It's still the window. That's what I was making a joke of. There's a window on that's from a computer. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, I missed this.
It's a little bit Kane and Lynch-esque. It's these two guys, they're kind of going on heists.
So something really crazy happened with this game last year.
Really?
We hadn't seen GTA 5 in motion yet.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody put this trailer up as like the heist sequences in GTA 5.
Yeah.
And we watched it in the office.
And people bought it.
And we were like, that's it. That's got to be it. Why this looks too real to be fake.
Yeah.
And then we found out this was a canceled game.
I
It doesn't
remember-
look that
Look
amazing.
at that slide.
I know.
I know.
It doesn't look that amazing for today, but in 2005,
Oh my God,
Jesus,
yeah.
this is amazing.
That's what I was going to say, is I was at the press conference where this was announced, and the game stuck, it was burned into my brain, but it's funny how your memory changes, like, this doesn't look cutting edge anymore.
Yeah.
But in my head, this was still like the best looking,
Sure,
visually
sure.
impressive video game I've ever imagined in my life.
Yeah.
So there's 2 players. It wasn't going to be a cooperative game,
Oh, was
but
it?
one you could choose which character's story you were going to play as, and it was different based on which one you chose.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looked awesome.
Like this looks crazy, right?
They would
don't-
die here. They would be dead. That guy in the red shirt's dead.
I don't remember. Did you have in your notes who the developer was? I don't even know. I just remember.
It was the same studio, Sony-owned studio that was doing the Getaway 3.
Oh, okay.
And then,
crazy.
yeah. Shown in 2005, it wasn't until June 2008 that Sony announced they canceled this along with the Getaway 3.
Right.
They were both canceled. But the game was set over the course of 8 days in 8 different states.
Really ambitious.
Yeah. crazy.
It was also ahead of its time. Like this is, if someone was like, "Yeah, this was test Uncharted footage," like I would believe them. Like cinematic action, right? Before that was really a term that had been
before it was
coined
an
yet.
ongoing thing. Yeah.
A big thing I'm a fan of is kind of the not canceled games as much as like canceled versions of games that went on to become something else.
Yeah.
Like what?
So like Resident Evil 4.
The
Originally,
original Resident Evil 4.
like when we first saw footage of Resident Evil 4, it had ghosts. And
I remember that.
Like it would start Leon, and everything was very shadowy, like lots of smoke effects everywhere, and you were basically in like a mansion, like a haunted house looking mansion.
Yep.
And there were ghosts, there were psychological effects, and all this stuff. And they scrapped all of it for the Gonados, the zombie guys that lived in the Spanish.
The
town.
Spaniards.
Yeah, the Spaniards.
Speaking of notable cancellations, I don't know, it was disappointing. Maybe it was because this game looked crazy. But do you guys remember This Is Vegas?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
open
Open
world
world.
Vegas event.
The open world. He went to an event?
Yeah, well, me and Eric Brudvig went down to that was Midway. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
Midway. So originally Midway was going to, and then they went bankrupt.
Yeah, we went to a Midway thing where they showed a whole bunch of games and announced a whole bunch of projects, including that was where DC vs Mortal Kombat originally debuted. And I stood
Wow.
up and gave it a standing ovation.
It was like a GTA style game, just set in Vegas, open world game.
Yeah.
Wander
And
in
you
the
just like,
casino.
And all you do, it's honestly, when you talk about it, it sounds to me a little bit like Saints Row, right? You just walked in and
Yeah.
had fun. All you just go do crazy crap, make money,
Just
and
like
there's no.
an over the top game set in Vegas.
Yeah.
Called
I
This
forgot-
Is Vegas.
I forgot
So
about
none of this ever became anything.
No.
No.
This is
they just canceled it.
this is another one of those. There's a lot of gaming.
Yeah.
This
No, I
one-
mean, like, it was playable. People were playing
this
it.
one
It's
was
crazy.
like almost done.
Yeah.
It's strange. So it was announced in February 2008 by Midway, but Midway went bankrupt the next year. So the property was sold to Warner Brothers, and then Warner Brothers canceled it in 2010.
They're probably just like, nah.
Good.
Wow.
Close enough.
Weren't going to do it.
I don't think that looked very good for 2010.
No, it didn't.
That actually looks like when they put games like, what are they, Gangstar or whatever on the iPhone.
It does
yeah.
They look like those iOS
Does look a
open
little
world
bit like
games. They're
Gangstar,
just
yeah.
like,
Oransky, let me know if you have the wet t-shirt footage from that game that you can bring up. Yeah, there's a wet t-shirt mini game in there. If you can bring that up.
No, we just have the trailer.
Oh, okay. Anyway, look up wet t-shirt.
There's a really
This is
weird
Vegas.
wet t-shirt minigame in This Is Vegas.
I have a few others here, but I want to hear from you guys. Disappointing game cancellations. Great.
The big one for me was the XFL video game. I was a big
XFL.
XFL fan.
You remember this? I don't remember this thing.
I remember
Like-
XFL. You remember the XFL.
I remember the XFL.
Yeah.
I don't remember the game.
I went to 3 out of 5 Chicago Enforcer home games. I was a big XFL fan, and they announced it finally in an EGM, and I tried to find footage to give you or screenshots.
Yeah.
And it was like one EGM article or whatever. It was just like one screenshot, but I couldn't find it online anywhere to put in here. So with that aside, then I would say this is a kind of a cop-out because we didn't even know it was happening, but the Superman Doomsday game.
Which one was that?
That was Factor 5 was working on that in conjunction with Brash Entertainment. And then Brash went down and Factor
So like
5
what
went
year
down.
was this?
I would guess 2006.
yeah,
No,
fine.
really? I thought it'd be...
Really?
No. Well, I think it leaked. I think this footage leaked later than that. Like, way later than that. Because
So
it wasn't...
was it supposed to be like a PS2 era?
It was
game?
supposed to be a PS3 360 game.
Oh.
And if they have the footage coming up here of them brawling... Yeah, you see the PlayStation
yeah.
Oh,
controller
that looks
up there.
later than what I just guessed.
Yeah, I wanted to say it was 2009 or 10. I'm sure
Okay.
you can put the number up here and show us.
Was there a name for it?
I think it was just Superman vs. Doomsday is what they
And
were
then it
calling
was just canceled?
Yeah, but this is why it's a cop out. We didn't even know it was happening until it was canceled.
Oh, okay.
Once everything went.
Well, but then you were
kablooey.
still disappointed. to
Well,
find
sure, and plus it was even a double whammy because I'm like the guy who put Factor 5 out of business with Lair.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still.
It's your fault.
People
You-
still credit me
you
with their
cursed
death.
yourself.
Factor 4.9. But yeah, you watch this footage here, and it's like, it's just cool to see a Superman game that didn't look garbagey. Like, because here they fight, yeah, they do this thing, like you're brawling through walls and hitting each other and stuff. It seemed like they had some cool ideas.
Yeah.
Plus, we're just dying for a Superman game that isn't terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the best Superman game, or what's your favorite?
I usually go Death and Return of Superman.
Is that like
SNES, Genesis.
SNES,
It was
yeah.
just a brawler, right?
Yeah.
But you got to play
Yeah.
as all these different characters. I never thought I'd play a game where I was Superboy. You know what I mean? Like at the time, like
Yeah.
you're Superboy, Cyborg, Eradicator, Steel.
And they didn't do a game with Man of Steel, right?
No, they didn't. No,
So I don't
which for me held out hope that they were going like Batman way,
Yeah.
right? Where it wasn't going to be garbage. And I still hold out hope now that Arkham Knight will have that scene where Superman swoops and he's like, "Do you want help?" And he's like, "No," and he flies away, and then that's the next thing they do.
I mean, I still don't understand how that character works in a video game. We talk about
Everybody
this
always
a lot.
says that. I don't think it's that hard.
Really?
Yeah, Superman Shadow of Apocalypse wasn't terrible either. That was the based on the animated series. In the animated series, theoretically, he could be actually killed by
He's in
weapons.
DC Universe Online,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just there. I mean, if you count that as a Superman game, I mean, it's
Yeah.
already the best MMO of all time. So
Yeah,
clearly, it's
no,
the best Superman game
definitely.
of all time.
Justin, any disappointing cancellations?
It's a weird one, but it's more of a personal disappointment.
Sure.
They had a Vectorman game on PS2, and I loved Vectorman
Really?
on the Sega Genesis. And
Vectorman is a late Sega Genesis game.
Yeah.
And the reason it's sort of personal is because it was the very first E3 I ever went to. It was E3 2003, and I'm like, I'm here. Pac-Man Versus is incredible. And then there was like Vectorman, and I didn't know, that was at the time when it was still online was obviously very big. I was there for an online website, but you still got a lot of your information from magazines.
Yeah.
And so like Vectorman, I didn't know it existed, and I'm like, I was so excited, and I play it, and like, I was so pumped for it, and in my heart, I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is bad. But like, I wouldn't admit it to myself, and then it got canceled. And then I looked up the footage again, and it's
So Sega was making it for PS2?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it looked a lot like a third-person Halo. Like Vectorman looked like Master Chief, and he threw grenades and shotguns and stuff.
What about his arms? Couldn't he extend his arms?
No.
Well, isn't that what Vectorman is all
No.
about? What is Vectorman then?
Well, he could transform.
He was all,
into different
he was
things.
like the
He was
circle
made
with
out
like
of
other
little
circles.
I guess I thought he could
It
like...
was a bunch of balls.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Dulce?
Ball man.
Yeah, I thought it was like Dawson with Vector. I don't know.
Ballman would have sold 4 copies. I don't know how many Vectorman sold though.
Yeah. Any disappointing cancellations?
So I don't know the exact story on this one. You might be able to back me up on this, but there was a game called Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
It was basically like, we don't know if it was actually ever officially in the works, but there was this rumor going around that there was a 2D Metroid game coming to the DS, which was just perfect for it because you have your map down there, you have everything up here. No first-person stuff, no touchscreen garbage. This was like, Metroid Zero Mission or Metroid Fusion, which is the last time we saw that franchise in 2D, and then we saw, the 3 Metroid Prime games, and then we saw that really bad
Other M
that we try not to talk about here. So Metroid Dread was kind of rumored.
Metroid, but I did not believe her.
Exactly. Metroid Dread was this rumored 2D Metroid game by Nintendo, and it never happened. And it was.
Have there been screenshots or anything of it?
Nothing.
No,
nothing.
it's not even officially.
It's almost like
always
vaporware, right?
It was always like a Sushi X rumor. We're like, we hear rumblings of a new 2D Metroid, but then that's all you would hear for like a year. It's going to be revealed next year.
Yep. So I don't know if it technically counts. I just really want a
counts.
2D Metroid game, and we still haven't gotten one, so I'm just going to assume that was.
It is high time
Yeah.
for another one.
Yeah, come on, make it happen.
Way back in the day, the PlayStation 1 era days, there was a game called Thrill Kill
Yeah.
that I was really excited about. You guys remember this one?
Yeah.
This is a 4-player fighter, and it was like over the top, very sexual and very violent, basically. That's what it was. And it ended up being canceled. It was an EA game. I think EA acquired the developer somehow. Yeah, this is...
Did you figure out?
Oh man,
when we were
Yeah, right?
this looks like a Game Boy Color game.
No, but this
Hell
is what
on
PS1.
earth.
It's what I said. People's memories can't be trusted to remember what games look like.
yeah.
Like this is PS1 for sure.
They're in a bathroom. Why did somebody write Hell on Earth on the stall?
I don't know.
But
You
like,
know the weird thing about PS1 games is that you didn't really have this problem on the N64, but every time the camera rotated, everything shook. Everything just looked really, and like it happened especially with Metal Gear. Like the camera would move and everything would just wiggle.
People hadn't figured out how cameras in video games worked.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's just not 2D anymore.
the game is...
This was kind of on the tail end of there was that huge rush to get everything on Earth was a fighting game. Like so many fighting games came out.
That move.
Man.
Yeah, the game is really not very good, but it was getting lots of press. Each character had over-the-top fatalities, basically. So like when it was canceled, I was like, man, that sucks. I had my PS1 modded so I could play import games and burned games, basically. And I just like bought the ROM off eBay. It was like, yeah, you used to be able to just like buy ROMs of games off eBay. Yeah,
That's weird.
And it was like $10.
Was it
like,
good?
Sure, yeah. No, it was fine. It was like fine. Like my friends and I would play it, and it was fine or whatever. But yeah, it was cool.
Did we ever figure out the connection between that and the Wu-Tang Clan game?
Yes. That game, they used the engine to make Wu-Tang Shaolin style.
Really?
That 4-player fighting game, yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
EA bought the game and then didn't want to publish it, so they just turned it into Wu-Tang Shaolin style.
So one of the coolest things about Wu-Tang Shaolin style is that they put out this. We were just like working on some feature a couple years ago at IGN. We found out that they put out this controller for it.
Yeah.
That I think it was only in Europe.
I remember that.
It's yellow. It's a PlayStation controller, and it's shaped like the Wu-Tang logo. So if you have that, please send it to me. Please. I will kill for that on my desk.
It seems like obviously I've never held one and used it, but it just seems terrible. Like
I'm
the
sure it's
buttons are like awful.
I'm sure it's the
spots.
worst.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Spoilers, Justin. I'm not going to play video games. If you have it, send it to me because I want that thing. It looks beautiful.
Do you remember in the mid 2000s, all the rage were open world action games based on movies? Like there was Godfather.
Yeah.
They made a Scarface game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they announced a Dirty Harry game.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They announced a Dirty Harry game in E3 2005 to be published by Warner Brothers.
I remember. I remember
Yes, I
that.
remember this. I remember this.
It was supposed to continue the story of the first movie. So yeah, here we have like footage of the game. This could be Henry Callahan. What's his name?
Oh my
Detective
God.
Callahan. Yeah.
I forgot all about this, but now I'm remembering it. I am remembering this.
And it was supposed to like they were gonna have Clint Eastwood providing the voice.
Did he do voice work for whatever this is?
I'm not sure if
This looks like a commercial for like the Academy of Art when they're like, you can make video.
It really does. I was just thinking that.
Look at his face.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It was supposed to be
guy's
for
incredible.
360 and PS3, but
Put away my friend in the last movie.
Video games are so weird because whoever like was sitting around watching Dirty Harry and the movie ended and they're like, man, I wish they continued the story in the video game.
Harry Callahan. But the game never came to be. Good.
There's
God.
no one on these streets. By the way.
Bad City. Is that what it's gonna say? I'm just guessing.
Yes.
Bad attitude.
Oh, okay. Damn it. It's true.
Oh man, is that Danny Trejo?
Yeah, Danny's featuring Danny Trejo.
His head in a vice.
How about this one? You guys remember 6 Days in Fallujah?
Oh yeah,
That whole hullabaloo.
Right? This is a third-person shooter focused on Iraq War, like recreating the real events that happened in Fallujah over 6 days, right?
They canceled it and they made a movie out of it instead.
A movie? Which one? I don't know. The developer was Atomic Games. They claimed that real soldiers returning to war asked them to make a game based on their experiences. That was their story. Because Atomic Games, I think they did some like commercial work for the military, just like Zombie Games does.
Yeah.
They were wanting to make the most realistic military shooter possible, but they were accused of glorifying real-life horrific events. And then Konami was going to publish it.
Yeah.
But Konami dropped it in April of 2009.
Right before it was supposed to come out, right?
I think it was very...
Yeah.
Like, the game
Yeah,
was
like
really
we had
far
seen
along.
it, and I want to say somebody played it.
I always thought this was weird.
Yeah.
That this all happened because it's not like there is any shortage of games that glorify war that happen.
But they're not real. If you do it too realistically, if you're less realistic, you're cool. But if you're super realistic, then people
Put
are
Kevin
gonna get
Spacey
mad.
and some mech suits in, nobody cares.
yeah, I guess so. If had they done like here's the rail gun from a racer, and you can go to Fallujah with it, then it's like, oh sure, here's the pre-order bonuses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm always kind of weird about war video games to begin with.
Yeah.
I think some of them like hit a little too close to reality sometimes. Yeah. In fact, some of them are sort of on the verge of war profiteering, I'd say. But this is, it's strange to me that like with this one specifically, soldiers were like, tell our story, and then the publishers were like, we can't. So
We
I
also-
don't know, like, what's the...
We were how many that got canceled because of the worries of the public outcry 3 years before Medal of Honor was like telling real war stories and was designed to be this real war game.
Yeah.
EA published that with no problem.
Yeah, and actually, if you think about it, the backlash on that game was pretty big. That people said it was too gruesome, and you're basically just shooting Iraqis in the face and stuff like that. So...
No. Or
Enemy
they called?
forces.
Yeah,
enemy forces. Yes, exactly.
Opposing forces? Something?
Opposing forces.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. In August 2012, the president of Atomic Games said 6 Days in Fallujah is definitely not canceled. So, you're waiting.
So any day now.
It's going to be out.
What if it was the pre-order bonus for some game?
One more. What about this one? Greg and I saw this one. Pirates of the Caribbean, Armada of the Damned.
Yep.
Oh man,
Right?
I'm having a lot of moments.
Yeah. We went to
'Cause I remember that. That
we
looked
went
awesome
to that Disney event. They had like 1 million TVs there to play it. It looked awesome.
That game was really cool. This was an open world action RPG, not based on the movies, but just based on the license.
Oh, I totally remember this game.
Yeah, I remember being really excited about it just because I wanted an open world pirate adventure game.
Yeah.
And then I
Thanks,
got it.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I finally got Assassin's Creed, but I had to wait years.
I actually don't know if this is it. Because you don't play as Jack Sparrow.
Yeah,
you play
I
as
agree.
a different...
I'm not sure this is the right. You play
might
as
not
another
be the
guy.
right
Way
B-roll.
to screw it up, Aransky.
Because you play... because in this game, you're like... You play as a different pirate. You pick it if you want to go down the legendary or the dreaded path. And so you're basically either a good pirate or a bad pirate. I don't know what a good pirate is. I guess that's what Jack Sparrow is, yeah. It's developed by Propaganda Games. They were making Tron Evolution at the same time. These are the guys that made the new Turok, which you reviewed?
Yeah.
Did you do that one? And they were also making Turok 2, but that also got canceled. Like,
Does that so is the
Wait, who is
studio?
this?
Are they still working on anything?
no, Disney laid all these people off.
Propaganda, wasn't it?
Remember, they laid off the studio propaganda, like almost the entire studio, like right before Tron came out. Like the Tron was still like 3 months out, and they needed to put the finishing touches on it, and they laid everybody off. The remaining people needed to stick around and finish it up, get it out the door, cancel all the planned DLC, and then cancel Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That game looked really cool.
I know.
I want another. I liked Assassin's Creed 4
we
a
got
lot, but that
Assassin's
makes me
Creed 4. Yeah.
But that makes me want like a pirate adventure game that's not like so Assassin's Creed flavored. Like there's
Like
more
an
room
RPG
there to explore. Yeah,
Like they're
maybe.
talking about, yeah.
Like there's Risen 2, but that was a little bit janky.
There's a site, I think it's called Unseen64, that documents a lot of like the canceled versions of games and canceled games and ROM hacks and stuff like that basically never really got released throughout time. It's fascinating to me to see this sort of like alternate path that the video game industry could have taken here and there, but never came to be.
One more email here before we have to bounce for this week. This is from Daniel Steven. He says, "Hey guys, I love the podcast. It's a stellar adventure that causes my mind to soar through a plethora of various bright colors and shapes, after which I always find myself on some distant purple moon."
He's doing drugs.
Yeah, a lot of drugs.
Seriously, though, you guys rock, and it makes my nights as a janitor a bit shorter. Anyway, I have a unique problem. A few months ago, I had disposable income and bought plenty of games. During that time, I developed an addiction to beating games. Now, I don't have...
There's a brief second I thought that was going a different direction. An addiction to beating.
Now I don't have disposable income due to ridiculous car insurance. I'm working on sorting that problem out. But in the meantime, what should I do about games? I'm broke, but my desire to complete games still exists, and I've nearly emptied my library. Please let me know if you have any tips for this problem, and thanks for the help. So, his problem is that he
doesn't have money.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Get a better job. Get better insurance.
Like, I don't know, play Hearthstone because it's free and it never ends?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, right?
Well, then you can't beat the game.
Like, I know, that's what I'm saying.
This addiction will just eat him away.
I mean, so this is the
Should he
obvious.
be playing longer games? Should he play Watch Dogs?
Yeah, you should
like
be
an
getting
open world
those
game.
giant open world
An open
games,
world game, like you can do a lot in Watch Dogs, right?
There's a few obvious solutions. The first is, use GameFly, something like that. Rent some games.
Yeah.
The second is, I mean, if you're the type of person that has to 100% a game and really squeeze all the blood out of that orange,
Juice out of the orange.
Out of
Juice
the
out of
blood out of the
the
stone.
blood.
blood out of the
Oranges. They have blood oranges.
get all the blood out of the blood orange.
Yeah.
The blood juice out of the blood orange. Get a game like Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed or something that'll last you 100 hours.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, because I think it's like if his addiction is beating games, and we got to feed that addiction, right? And you don't feed that addiction by giving somebody a game that lasts 100 hours. You give them like 100 smaller games.
Yeah, you could get iPhone games.
That's great.
They're not all. I mean, we need to do. I don't cover mobile full time at IGN anymore, so we don't do quite as much on it. But I want to do. There's a lot of like really good games that do work for hardcore gamers.
Sure.
So I want to do some features on that.
Magic 2015 just came out on iPad. I don't know if our friend likes card games, but Magic 2015 is out now, and I'm going to play that.
I think stuff like PlayStation Plus is really cool because you can just you pay for it for the year.
Get a game every
you
month,
walk away, and then they actually give you 2 games a month now. And if you have a PS4, a Vita, and a PS3 like I do, then you basically get like 6 games a month. So you just kind of sit there and take what you get, whatever shows up, beat it, and then the next month comes in, and you treat those like they're your assignments.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Games with gold on Xbox. is the
Totally,
equivalent.
same thing. Steam sales if you want to go down that path.
That's a great point too. If you have a PC, Steam. You just missed the Steam summer sale, but great.
There's
games
always
for
deals every day there.
Yeah.
It's really good.
the humble bundles. Pay what you want for a bunch of usually pretty decent games.
Speaking of beating gaams, I just beat Shovel Knight.
Oh,
It's so good.
Yeah,
I have a lot
We
of
just
fun with that.
IGN picked it as Game of the Month for
Yep.
June.
Yep.
It's so good.
Fantastic game.
You play a bunch of
I'm
it?
playing on DS.
Yeah. I played on 3DS too. I think that's all the scoops we have for you this week. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Brian. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com. My name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop, and we're out.